আসসালামু আলাইকুম রহমতুল্লাহ বারকাতু। আশা করি সবাই সুস্থ আছে। আল্লাহ আল্লাহ তাআলা আল্লাহ তাআলা মেহেরবান হন। আল্লাহ তাআলা তৌফিক দেন আমাদের ভাইদেরকে, বোনদেরকে, যাদের একত্রিত হওয়া উচিত এরকম একটা আমলে, যে আমল হলো ফরজ ইবাদত, ইলম শিক্ষা করা। আল্লাহ তাআলা accept us। এখানে বেশিরভাগ মানুষই নামাজকে গুরুত্ব দেয় না, সেখানে ইলম শিক্ষাকে কি গুরুত্ব দিবে? আমাদের চেষ্টা করে যেতে হবে আমরা যেন দমে না যাই এবং আমাদের অন্তরের মধ্যে সেই একটা শব্দ উর্দুতে ব্যবহার করা হয়, খায়ের খাহি। খায়ের মানে হলো গুড, গুডউইল ফর আদার্স। এটা যেন সবসময় কাজ করে। অপরের ভালো চাই আমরা, এবং অপরের শুধু ভালো চাওয়া অন্তরের না। রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লাম শুধু অন্তরে চাইতেন না, উনি সকাল, দুপুর, বিকাল, সন্ধ্যা দাঁড়ে দাঁড়ে যেতেন, দাঁড়ে দাঁড়ে। He would not knock via WhatsApp and Messenger to call people towards Allah, to connect creation towards the Creator, with the Creator, but he would go door to door, house to house, person to person, from one area to another area, one mahalla to another mahalla, one city to another city. And his way of life happens to be our example of paramount importance. We continue with the protection after Ramadan. Today is the 8th session and the 4th session on beautiful character, akhlaq, and the second session on hilm, or forbearance. As I explained earlier, we talked about after Ramadan, we will face even more the various tests of Allah. How do we guard against them? The evil designs of shayateen, how do we guard against those evil designs? The provocations of evil people, how do we guard against them? The urgings of our nafs, or base desires, how do we guard against them? The fatal attraction of dunya, and how do we guard against that? And then we spent 4 weeks on the 5 aspects, and then we spent another 4 weeks, 4 and 4, 8, another 4 weeks on the importance of acquiring ilm in combating the tests of Allah and the evil designs, or facing the tests of Allah and combating the enemies, our enemies. And another weapon is dawat. We should be on dawat, on the mode of dawat, on a continuous basis. And then the last few halakas, we started talking about, in one halaka, sabr and shukr, in another halaka on forgiveness, and then the last halaka we started with the hilm, forbearance, and today is the second session and the last session on hilm. So in the last halaka, we talked on hilm in terms of Allah. One of the names of Allah is Al-Halim, and I drew heavily from an article. And in today's part, we will focus on the quality of hilm in terms of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, stories from his life, examples that he left for us, which for the most part, most Muslims are ignorant about. We have superstars and megastars, our heroes, and these are generally famous people with some sort of entertainment skills and value for us, for the most people, and possibly negative inward quality or morality, no inward quality or morality, possibly for the most part. As I read about some of them, you know, they're heroes and superstars and megastars, and they can attract the millions of people. But if you look at if you can get to know about their inward life, it is horrible for them, for at least for some people. Whereas if you look at Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his book is an open life, inside out. There are no two aspects of his life. We even know about his inward life, his life in his home or homes, through his wives. And there are so many of them to tell us about the nobility of his life as a family man, as a man following his daily chores, fulfilling his daily obligations towards himself. There's no second aspect to his life, inward aspect to his life, that we do not know. And it is most wonderful. And he is the example. So once again, from the previous week, what is hilm? It means to be forbearing, mild, lenient, clement, to be forgiving, forbearing, and then forgiving, gentle, deliberate, to be leisurely in manner, not hasty, to be calm, serene, to manage one's temper, or to exhibit moderation. And Allah had hilm, and that's why we can survive without being destroyed because of our many sins. And so many people who we try not to anger him, but there are so many who openly revolt against him, openly say things about him which we cannot even utter. He's lenient towards them. He does not punish right away because of the fact that Allah's mercy prevails over his wrath. Iftikhar. What is that? Oh, okay. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Iftikhar 15 batch, he by mistake called. He was trying to join. So Allah was Halim, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had this quality of hilm, and that is what we will explore today. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, there was once a man who loaned money to people, and this person, he told his servant who collected the money that if somebody cannot pay, then be lenient towards him, or if needed, forgive him. And then he died one day, and he was presented before Allah Ta'ala. And because of this quality of being lenient towards the borrowers, or forgiving if needed, Allah Ta'ala, the Most High, forgave him all his sins. Comes in Bukhari and Muslim. When the delegation of Abdul Qais, a tribe, came to accept Islam, they rushed to meet Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The second they entered the city, he was the superstar, the mega star. But one of them, what was his name? Ashaj. One of them, the leader among them, he was very deliberate. He did not rush. He carried the the belongings of his tribesmen to the proper place in a deliberate manner, not being hasty. And then when everything was taken care of, he came and presented himself before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam watched all of this. What he was doing, he watched. And what his people were doing, he watched. His people were surrounding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the leader comes. After talking to him, at the end, he said one thing, which has been preserved for us. You have two qualities that Allah Ta'ala likes. You have hilm, forbearance. You're not hasty. You do not rush. He took all the time to prepare. Maybe even, I don't know if he even made wudu. And then he presented himself before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have two qualities which Allah Ta'ala likes. You have hilm and you are deliberate. And then the story goes like this, which I haven't captured here. Goes on like this, that after, they used to come to learn Islam, not to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, that was part of their goal, but to learn from him, basically. So after that time was over, and this group was leaving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people of this tribe, as Ashaj left, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a beautiful thing. I wonder if he said something similar about anybody else. He said, "What a man, what a man." This person was not hearing, he left. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was seeing him from a distance. And he said, "What a man." I don't know if Jibreel alayhi salam gave him the news that this would be the last of this person that he would see. Because on the journey back to his tribe, he fell into a disease and he never recovered from his disease and he died. What a man. What a wonderful comment to hear from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about anybody. Luqman Hakim used to say, "Oh my son, three things can be known only by three other things. And how can we exhibit hilm?" He said, hilm at the point of anger. When a situation happens that you are very angry, that is when you can get to show hilm, by controlling your anger. When we face bad behavior, that's when we can show good behavior that Allah Ta'ala wants us to show. Respond good to evil. When you face evil, respond it with your goodness. And Allah Ta'ala says that to my knowledge, in at least 4 places in the Holy Quran. And forgiveness in at least 7 places to my knowledge, Allah Ta'ala says forgive in different ways. So hilm can be shown when somebody gets angry, or at the point of anger, he controls the anger. That is when you can be halim. Or bravery, you cannot show that except in battlefield, or except in some danger. And brotherhood, except in times of need, you cannot show. When somebody is in need and you can help him, and you are the brother. Anas radiallahu anhu narrates, oh my goodness, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was gifted with this person, with this companion by his mother when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina, and people were giving him various gifts. And the mother of Anas radiallahu anhu, her husband left her. And without a husband, a lady in those days doesn't have much. So he told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah. And whenever I narrate this story, I have tears in my eyes. A simple story, but I have tears in my eyes. She said, Ya Rasulullah, I have nothing to give you. Amar kichu nai deyar apnake, except this son. Please accept him. He can be of service to you. And Anas radiallahu anhu was only 10 years old. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Anas radiallahu anhu was 20 years old. And this is what he says. Actually, it's not here, it's later on, that he served Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 10 years of his life. And a few things from what he said. I never touched anything, neither satin nor silk, that was softer than the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Doesn't have anything to do with hilm, but I thought of including it because it was in the tradition, or it is a part of the tradition of what he's saying later on about hilm. I never smelled any scent sweeter than the scent of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I served Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for an entire 10 years. Never once did he say, oof to me. Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran something like this, that do not even say oof to your parents. Never once did he ask me about something I did. Why did you do that? Never did he ever ask me about something that I did not do. Couldn't you have done so and so? কেন করো নাই? এটাও জিজ্ঞেস করেন নাই। Bukhari Muslim. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent him on an errand, go and do such and such thing. This comes in another hadith. Go and do such and such thing. Anas radiallahu anhu said, I was a boy at that time, and on the way I saw some children playing. I stood there and looked at them playing. I don't know for how long. And at one point I saw somebody touching my shoulder, and I looked up and saw that it was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was not angry, he was smiling. And he didn't say anything. He didn't scold. I said immediately, yes, I'm going. And he ran to do what he was sent for. No reaction. No negative reaction. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu reported a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, how many times should I pardon my servant? And in another narration, it is said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not respond. So the man asked him, the companion asked him, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the same question, how many times should I pardon my servant? He did not respond. And then the companion asked a third time, and that is when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, as per another tradition, he asked 3 times, 70 times every day. I guess that's why he was not responding. Who can forgive 70 times? But that is what is hilm. You forgive once or twice, that is forgiveness. But you forgive repeatedly. What he meant was forgive repeatedly. Because see, the flip side of taking action, yeah, you can take action. In another tradition, it comes like this, that if you have taken action against your slave more than he deserves, Allah Ta'ala will catch you on the day of judgment. Your slave will have retribution on the day of judgment. So now if while taking action I overreact, I will have to face retribution. And the safer course is forgive. Forgive somebody who is a slave, meaning you can do anything and you can kill the slave. Nobody can question. Those days, nobody could question. Today, we are forced to be good to our servants, because if they leave us, we won't get another replacement. That's why we are forced to be nice to them. Not I'm not sure if we do it, it is because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked us to forgive time and again. A man once lent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam some gold. Let me narrate this story like this. There was a Jewish scholar. Uh, Let me narrate in the manner this Jewish scholar uh, narrates this story. His name was Shana. Shana. What was his full name? Shana. Zaid bin Shana. So he said that I'm a Jewish scholar, and I read in my books about the qualities of the last prophet, and I saw in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was not a Muslim by then. I saw in him all the qualities except for two. So I wanted to test those two qualities. And one day I was looking for opportunity, and one day the opportunity presented itself. What was the opportunity? He was coming out of his house with Ali Raziyallahu Anhu and few others. And a leader of a tribe came and approached him, possibly was waiting outside his house, approached him and said, my tribesmen, my tribe accepted Islam, and now we face severe famine. We are starving. They will turn away from Islam unless they get some help, unless you help them in this time of great need. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked around at his companions. Ali Raziyallahu Anhu responded, there is nothing for us to give. There is nothing in Baitul Mal, basically. So that Zaid ibn Shana was listening to this, and he came forward and he said, I can give you 80 gold equivalent to 80 dinars, something like that. Gold equivalent to 80 dinars. Quite a bit of wealth. If you promise to give me dates from such and such garden on such and such date, harvest time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I can agree to your proposal unless you do not, if you do not specify the garden. Because if dates do not grow in that garden, how can I give you them? So he said, okay, I agree. And Zaid ibn Shana went and brought gold equal to 80 dinars, gave it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave it to the person who, the leader of the tribe, and said, manage with this until the drought is removed. The person went away. Zaid ibn Shana, before the date of the repayment arrived, before the date, he came one day, a few days prior, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in front of all the companions, and they were coming out of a funeral, all the companions were there, especially the major ones. He accosted him by saying, and actually in other narration, he said that he got hold of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's, this part, tunic. And he very, very roughly told him, oh Muhammad, why are you not paying what is due? By Allah, I know your family well. Even took the name of his father, grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. I know you, the children of Abdul Muttalib. You are a bad payer of debts. You're all known for deferring your debts. Bab Dada Tule Gali Diyar Motarki. And the time had not arrived. Okay, please mark that. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this narration and in the other narration, I did not see that he raised this point, that your time has not arrived. Why are you behaving like this? Umar Raziyallahu Anhu was there, and he said, oh enemy of Allah, I would have beheaded you if it was not out of respect for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, see the response, and a response from somebody who is Al-Halim, sorry, Al-Halim is the name of Allah, but we should say somebody who has Hilm. Umar, we do not need this. I will quote from the other narration. He said, Umar, uh, you don't need to behave like this. You should tell me, on the other hand, to pay my debt timely. And as I said, the time hadn't arrived, but he's not raising that point. And you should tell him to ask for the debt in a better manner, in a nicer manner. Go and return his dates, what he's supposed to get, and give him 20 sa, 32 kilogram, additional 20 sa, 32 kilogram, more because of your behavior, because you frightened him. So Zaid ibn Shana is taken by Umar radiallahu anhu, and he's given his dates plus additional 20 sa, 32 kilograms. And he asks this man, Zaid ibn Shana tells Umar radiallahu anhu, do you know me? And Umar radiallahu anhu says, no. So Zaid ibn Shana says, I am Zaid ibn Shana. Umar radiallahu anhu said, you are the scholar of the Jews? Umar radiallahu anhu knew him by name. He said, yes, I'm the same person. Then Umar radiallahu anhu was surprised. You are a scholar. You are a respectable person. Why did you behave like that with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And Zaid ibn Shana then responded. He then responded as to why he acted in the way. He said, there was not a single sign of prophethood except that I recognized it upon looking at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's face, except for two that I had not yet seen from him. Duta sign ami dekhi nahi. Ki, that his tolerance overcomes his anger. The last prophet would be such that his tolerance overcomes his wrath, hilm, and that intense abuse only increases him in forbearance. That the more bad behavior you show towards him, the greater would be his forbearance, his forgiveness, and his goodness towards you. Hilm. I have now tested these, so know, O Umar, that I accept Allah as my Lord, Islam as my religion, Muhammad as my prophet, and that half my wealth, or I have much wealth, is a donation for the Ummah of Rasulullah, of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, accepted Islam, gave half of his wealth to the Muslim community at the service of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he took part in all the battles after that, and he died in one battle. And I'm sure the same things are written in Jewish books, and the Jewish scholars read, but they do not have the courage to accept Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as their prophet and Allah as their Rabb, Allah that we know of in terms of the qualities that he is defined, and Islam as their religion. They don't have the guts. And that is what is called kufr, to conceal. Anas radiallahu anhu narrates another story of him, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He narrates that I was once walking with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was wearing a cloak, and a golai jorano hoy, made from Najran cloth, which was very hard and thick, and the borders were hard and thick. A Bedouin approached Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and tugged his cloak harshly. Jore টান দিয়েছে ওই কাপড়টাকে, the cloak. জোরে টান দিয়েছে, So much so that it put the hard border of the cloth put a mark on his neck, red mark on the neck of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And উনি দেখতে ধবধবে ছিলেন, তো লালচে দাগ পড়ে যায়. There was no need to do that, because what he is asking for is the following: O Muhammad, order that some of the property of Allah that is with you be given to me. And basically, he was in need, he needed some help. So you come and approach and say, can I get some help? You don't need to attack Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that manner. Now, what is the response of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is what's known as hilm. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned to the Bedouin and smiled. Oh my goodness. Now you are being attacked. You're facing such behavior and such words. And his response is a smile. And proof of what we just now heard from the Jewish scholar, that however insolently, badly you behave towards him, he would become more forbearing. And it is in Jewish book somewhere. They have hidden it. They have possibly disowned that. They have possibly put those parts so that nobody can find them. Later, he complied with Bedouin's request. And there's another version in another book. There's a little bit of difference. It's a similar story, but a little bit of difference. So I guess that's another incident. And basically, the point I want to establish is, from the story of Zaid ibn Shana and from this story of the Bedouin and a third story, the point I want to establish is that these incidents were not stray incidents. They happened, and we only know of, or at least I know of, only 3. But if I know of 3, there could be many other incidents of similar type. So the other story is, and yesterday I could not capture that in my slides. It was too late. Once a Bedouin came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, seizing hold of the wrap, tugged at it so hard, his wrap around his neck or shoulders. He tugged it so hard that his neck was bruised. And he said, have corn loaded on these camels of mine. If you do this, you will not be parting with your own riches or those of your fathers, being that everything that is there belongs to the Baitul Mal. So you will not be giving your father's property to me or your own property. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, I will give you nothing unless you compensate me for tugging at my wrap. So there is this difference in this response. The man said he would give no compensation. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled and ordered corn to be loaded on the Bedouin's camel. And it comes in this book, Khasail-e-Nabawi. And then there's this story from Abu Sufyan, story that is related to Abu Sufyan and the famine in Makkah. And it was so bad for the Makkans, the famine, because of drought. People began to fall to even bones and carrion. Abu Sufyan, one of the arch enemies, said to approach Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Muhammad, you preach good treatment to kinsfolk, good treatment towards kinsfolk. That's what you preach. Your people are now dying of starvation. Why do you not pray to Allah for them? Just see, this man is opposing and torturing Muslims and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he has that belief that if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prays to his Lord, his Lord will help. So that iman they had, and most Muslims, I doubt, would have even that level of iman. Although his persecution at the hands of the Quraysh and their mischief had crossed all limits, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on hearing Abu Sufyan's words, raised his hands at once to pray, Allah the Magnificent then caused a torrential rainfall, putting an end to the famine. It comes in Bukhari. And this story, because the time is short now, he invited Hakim, a prisoner of war, to Islam in different ways, time and again, and he did not accept Islam. And Umar Radiallahu anhu said, why are you wasting your time on this person? Let me chop off his head and send him to hell where he belongs. Rasulullah did not allow him. He continued to invite him. And at one point, he accepted Islam. At one point, he accepted Islam. He came and asked, what is Islam? Rasulullah was trying to explain Islam to him all this time. And now he says, what is Islam? Rasulullah replied, it is to serve Allah without attributing any partners to him and to bear witness that Muhammad is his slave and messenger. Hakim then replied, I have become a Muslim. And then Rasulullah said to his companions, had I complied with you, this man would have been sent to hellfire. Meaning, if I would have killed you, he would have gone to hell. Anas ibn Malik said, while we were in the masjid, and again, let me try to shorten this. We were in the masjid, and a Bedouin came, maybe an elderly person. His mind was not working properly. And that sort of a person came and he urinated in Masjid al-Nabawi, and the floor was mud. It was not concrete at all. So he was urinating, and the Sahaba were there. They saw, and they were about to go and beat him. Rasulullah stopped them. And he said that if you run after him, he will run while urinating. He cannot stop his urination. And he will defile the other places of the masjid. Let him urinate. When the man finished, Rasulullah called him and told him, this is a place of worship, to remember Allah, to pray, to recite the Quran. It is not for such things. He said in a nice manner. And then he told somebody to come to bring a pail of water and to put on that spoiled area. He didn't allow his companions to beat up this man, and they would have beaten up this man like anything. And later on, this person, he was so affected by the manner he was treated. He said, I never met a teacher better than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this comes in Muslim. I never came across a person better than him. And how did his companions, what sort of learning did they have? This person, the best of persons, is showing him. And we may say, oh, this is for the prophets. This is not for us. But what is his companions doing? Once Abu Darda radiallahu anhu came across he came across some people who were abusing a sinner with very harsh words. And he said, if you saw a man who had fallen into a well, would you not try to help him out? Would you not help him out? And they said, yes, we will help him. So he said, this man, by committing sin, has fallen into water, into a well. You should help him and not show such a behavior with him. And the people said, are you not angry that he has committed such and such sin? And Abu Darda radiallahu anhu responded, yes, I'm angry. But you see, he was my brother before he committed the sin. And if he asks for forgiveness, he will be my brother. So why should I behave badly towards him? And that is how his companions learned from him. I'm not angry with him, but rather with his deed. When he abandons his sin, he remains my fellow brother. And then finally, I want to. It has put such a mark in my mind. This story of Abu Dujana. So even though I have taken my 40 minutes, I want to beg you for extra few minutes to at least mention the story of Abu Dujana, one of the foremost of companions about whom hardly anybody has heard about. He was such a brave person that in one battle, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Who is going to face such and such enemy?" And there used to be duel in the beginning. If they could settle the war with duel, Mollo Juddho. Who's going to face such and such person? A ferocious enemy came out and said, "Who is going to face me?" Rasulullah Sallallahu asked, "Who is going to face?" Three companions stood up. I think Ali Raziallahu anhu was one of them. Abu Dujana was second. I forgot the third person. Abu Dujana was one of the three. Rasulullah Sallallahu gave the sword to Abu Dujana, and he fought most ferociously, not only killing that person, but so many of the enemies. So this companion, he took part in the battle of Badr and Uhud and Khandak and so on and so forth. All the battles with Rasulullah Sallallahu until Rasulullah Sallallahu passed away. And at one point, this companion, he died in one of the battles after Rasulullah Sallallahu. So he had done so many good deeds with Rasulullah Sallallahu, including praying behind him, including doing Hajj, including being in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, starting with the Battle of Badr. But he used to say, and I heard this from a scholar, he used to say, I cannot on the day of judgment place before Allah Ta'ala any of my battles or my other good deeds before Allah Ta'ala for my deliverance on the day of judgment. আমার নাজাতের জন্য কোনো কিছুই কোনো আমলে আমি পেশ করতে পারবো না, মনে করি আমি কোনো জেহাদও পেশ করতে পারবো না আমার নাজাতের জন্য। আমি মনে করি আমার দুটো আমল আছে যা আমি পেশ করতে পারবো, two deeds that I can present before Allah for my salvation. And what are the two good deeds? If you would have said the Battle of Badr and the Battle of Uhud, we could not put something similar in support of our deliverance. What he says, two good deeds that all of us can imbibe, all of us can inculcate. Not impossible, difficult, but not impossible. Battle of Badr, we could not have any battle. It would be impossible, not nearly impossible on our part to present before Allah. But the two deeds he talks about, we can all inculcate, even though difficult. He said, I have never harmed or hurt a person in my life. Is it that nobody used to come with quarrel with him? I'm sure people had grievances against him, but he would stay away from harming or hurting anybody's sentiments outside the battlefield. And the second thing he said is, I do not bear any grudge against anybody. দোয়া কবুল হবে না যার অন্তরে বিদ্বেষ আছে। He said, I do not bear any ill will, any grudge, any complaint, any grievance against anybody. I think I can present these two deeds before Allah Ta'ala on the day of judgment for my salvation. Followers of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But the last point I want to make is that this should not be taken, clemency and tolerance should not be taken beyond the limit. There should be a limit to how much tolerant we should be, so that people uh, uh, people do not cross the limit and take advantage. So, in conclusion, we have talked about in the last week about forbearance, about hilm in the context of Allah Ta'ala, as a result of which today we exist. If we would have taken action for for every one of our misdeeds or sins, either we would be wiped away or we could not have shown our face before people. And today we talked about hilm of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, stories from his life showing his utmost forgiveness and forbearance. And I also want to remind you that Allah Ta'ala says, and I found at least 7-8 places where he says, Atiullah wa atiu Rasulah, obey Allah and obey his Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. 7-8 places. And I presented those when I talked about the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to drive home the point how important are the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah is saying, obey Allah and obey his Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he says also something like this, that whatever Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has given you, accept them. And whatever he has refrained you from, keep away from those. What do we say about the commands of Allah Ta'ala? They are obligatory on us. But, there are scholars who would say, oh, this is Sunnah and this is Nawafil and so on and so forth. But I just want to remind you that Allah says, obey Allah and obey his Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Take whatever he gives. Keep away from what he asks you to, orders you to keep away from. Superstars and megastars are famous people with some sort of entertainment skills, something that I started with, and possibly negative inward quality of morality. If you read their life story, everything is not, it is hidden mostly, their personal life. Full of filth. Their ideals and idols for the vast majority of the people who follow and idolize them. The real example for us is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Not only in terms of how to meet our obligation towards Allah Ta'ala, but also in terms of how to meet our obligations towards our fellow human beings, and also how to live our mundane daily lives. Hawa, shoa, pora, utha, basa, bhavar kora, ittadi, behaving with your better half and things like that. Children, he has example for with your friends and with your relatives. The mundane becomes sublime when it is done as per the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and becomes worship. Allah Ta'ala did not send a book, the Quran, the Holy Quran, but also how to live according to the Holy Quran. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Imbibing husnul khuluq, beautiful character, not only enables us to meet our obligation towards people, but also opens the door for Jannatul Firdaus based on Sahih Hadith. And what is the compensation for a beautiful character? Jannatul Firdaus. One of the best weapons we have against our enemies is beautiful conduct. The second aspect I want to dwell upon, because we have, it's very important that I touch upon this, because things are posted, but who has time to see the postings? These have been posted. Is the importance of the first 10 days of this month of Zul Hijjah. There are no days in which righteous deeds are more beloved to Allah than these 10 days of Zul Hijjah or Hijjah. The people asked, not even fighting for the sake of Allah? He said, not even fighting for the sake of Allah, except in the case of a man who went out to fight, giving himself and his wealth up for the cause and came back with nothing. Bukhari. Abdullah bin Kurd reports that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the greatest day in the sight of Allah is the day of sacrifice, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, and the day of rest, the following day. Abu Dawud. Ibn Abbas reported Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, There are no days greater in the sight of Allah and in which righteous deeds are more beloved to him than the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. So during this time, recite Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, and Allahu Akbar in abundance. Ibn Qayyim has mentioned the correct opinion is that the last 10 nights of Ramadan are more virtuous than the last 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah. But the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are even more virtuous than the last 10 days of Ramadan. First, fast all 9 days, and especially on the day of Arafah. Even if you cannot fast in any of the 8 days, first 8 days, fast on the 9th day. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to fast on the 9th day of Dhul Hajj, and he said, the fasting the day of Arafah is an expiation for all the sins of the previous year, an expiation for all the sins of the coming year. Muslim. Perform zikr and takbir. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said there are no days on which deeds are greater or more beloved to Allah than these 10 days. So recite much tahleel, La ilaha illallah, takbir, Allahu Akbar, tahmid, Alhamdulillah. And then we got from the previous hadith, Subhanallah. I'll talk about Qurbani briefly after the talim on next week, the significance especially. And for now, I want to mention this hadith that because it's next week, it will be too late to act on this. When the new moon of Dhul Hijjah appears and one of you wants to do the sacrifice, Qurbani, let him not take anything from his hair and nails. Chul ketona, no ketona. So starting with the first day of Dhul Hijjah until you do the Qurbani. And finally, I want to remind that and request and plead that let us make continued effort on our friends and relatives and acquaintances.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi wassir wa la tuwassir wa tammim bil khayr. Rabbi zidni ilma. Inshallah, today we plan to talk about important thing is regarding our Aqidah. So what is Shuja? Shuja was the one who raised this thing to discuss here. So there's few things I must disclaim. There's a disclaimer first. I must declare my disclaimer that my knowledge on this subject is of course limited, and also I also accept my poor skill in language and communication. So please bear with it. So I'll try to be very objective in this matter. I'll try to discuss this issue in a historic manner, in a chronological manner. I'll not go for any conclusion. So conclusion will be up to you. And I hope that my discussion will create a foundation for you to study more on this subject. All right. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let us talk about Aqidah today. Today we'll not discuss very detailed, long discussion today. We'll just start to lay the foundation of Aqidah. So this Aqidah is actually, we say, is a creed of Islam or theology. So basically, Islam is not a creedal religion. Islam is basically a very simple religion, and the first companions of Islam all came from the bottom part of the society, and they are not from the intellectual group. So what they understand is very simple philosophy of Islam. They are looking for very basic concept of God, creation, and all these things. And they look into basically they look into this, that the natural way that Islam explain our daily life, our purpose of our life. The natural explanation of Islam is enough for them. They are very convinced with that explanation, and because of this simple uh, creed, because of this simple creed, all the companion they remain united. They remain united on the simple creed that God is one. Tawhid, we say, we say Islamic faith, Islamic Tawhid, and Iman. These three things. Basically, the Islam Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught to our Sahabi is these three few things. Is Tawhid, the oneness of God, Islamic faith, and Iman, and of course Islam. So Iman has 6 pillars, Islam has 5 pillars, and all these things. And these are very simple. And then some of the attributes of Allah, something like Hayyu, Qayyum, all these things. Then sleep doesn't overtake him. All these very simple uh, uh, attributes of Allah was taught to companions by our Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we must understand that this simple form of belief, because of the simplicity of the belief, all the companions they remain united. If the thing become very complicated, there'll be difference in opinion, there'll be difference on this thing, that thing, and people will not be fully united. They will have different ideas. So we have to understand that our belief has to be very simple. And these are the belief, Tawheed, and this we say this pillars of Iman, pillars of Islam. This belief, these are the basic belief, and these are the belief that make distinguish between a believer and non-believer. When you talk about who is believer, when you talk about who is non-believer, so these are the thing that the oneness of God, and the 6 pillars of Iman. If we agree on these few things, we can say that this gentleman is a believer, and if there's a difference, then we say this gentleman is not a believer. So we stick to this point. But when we talk about Akida is not as simple as Tawhid, and not as simple as 6 pillars of Iman. Akida is much more broad. So what is Akida? What is Akida? So let us define Akida. Basically, Akida, if you go literal meaning, in the nominal form, it means knot, and in the verbal form, it means to tie. Akida is to tie. So in Islamic perspective, Akida takes the component of Iman. Akida takes the component of Tawhid, and then extend it to very detailed level. And sometimes it's so much detail that some of the human interpretation is introduced, some of the intellectual interpretation is introduced, and that creates the difference. Because when there's a human interpretation, when there's an intellectual interpretation, a human being are different from one to another, and they do not agree. And another thing is this Akida is not, this word is not known to our companion. This word is not introduced in Quran. This word is not introduced in Hadith. So this word is totally unknown to our companion. And this word has been introduced later on with the transformation of the society, with the transformation of the intellectual capability. This word was introduced in Islam. So basically, what we call Aqidah is uh, Aqidah distinguishes itself from Iman in taking the aspect of Iman and extend it to a very detailed level, often using human interpretation and sources. So this is the definition of we set it as a definition of Aqidah, and we must understand that any term introduced in Quran and Hadith are of significant importance and fundamental importance. And if the term is not in Quran and Hadith, then what will happen? If a term is important in our deen, then it would have been introduced in the Quran and in the words of Prophet. But Aqidah was not introduced. So many ulema, there is a ikhtilaf, but I just mentioned here that many ulema, they think that when you decide believer and non-believer, who is believer and who is non-believer, we don't go to Aqidah, we go to Iman. But Aqidah is important for further, for different reason, because when Islam expand, and when Islam come in contact with the different religion, different philosophy from the different part of the world, then slowly, their intellectual questions become more open, more deeper, and then Aqidah was introduced. Okay, so the elements of Aqidah. What are the elements of Aqidah? This is it is the belief Muslim holds regarding God. It is the belief Muslim holds regarding the book. It is the belief regarding angels, heaven and hell, and also predestination, free will, and similar things. So it's a very detailed level of explanation, or very detailed level of iman, very detailed level of this information or faith. So first principle that I want to discuss here, that we do not bring Aqidah to the level of dogma. Because if we bring this Aqidah to the level of dogma, there will be difference in opinion, and people will start calling others as non-believer, which we don't want. And many ulama, they come to the conclusion that we shouldn't bring Aqidah to that level. But on the contrary, there are some group who say that Aqidah is very important, and Sahih Aqidah, if you do not have, you are not Muslim. You are not Muslim. So that makes the problem. That makes the problem because people start calling one another disbeliever. Calling one another disbeliever is a we will study in after some time that this is also a deviant belief which developed inside Islam. All right. So basically, this is the definition of Aqidah, and we will discuss next is why the term Iman is inadequate for the purpose for which additional term Aqidah has been invented. To understand that, we have to also understand the development of the society. Islam come and move forward in 4 different stages. The first stage is fundamental. We talk about fundamental stage. That is the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That from up to Hijri 11, up to Hijri 11. So there is the fundamental stage, and Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us different rules, principles of Islam during this time. So until we reach the end of the time, Islam was not complete. Islam was not complete. So Islam was developing during this time. And then come to the establishment stage, which is from 11 Hijri to 40 Hijri. This is time of Khulafa al-Rashidin. So Khulafa al-Rashidin, there is a lot of thing has been done. Lot of thing has been standardized. Quran has been written down. Quran has been standardized. Different rules, different social norms like transaction, like rules of marriage, like rules of this inheritance. All this has been set during this time, and people come across many different problems in their daily life. All these problems which were not solved during the time of Prophet, and this has been discussed and solution has been reached. So this is the time of, we call it time of establishment. Also the time of these rules of dawah, rules of judicial rules, then the rules for rules of war. All this has been established during this time. Like 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 one of the rule is if someone don't pay zakat, so human Muslim are supposed to fight against them. This rule has been established during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. So this is established during the time of this establishment time. And at the same time, the intellectual capacity of the human being is changing due to the knowledge, due to the experience, due to the civilization. People are getting more matured, and their questions is getting deeper. So the next stage is we call it development stage. Development stage is a stage from Hijri 40 to Hijri 128 or 130. So something like Umayyad Caliphate. So during the Umayyad Caliphate, many different rules for governing the country has been developed under Islamic system. Many different rules for when they conduct expedition in different part of the world. So also the rules has been set during this time, and this is called a development stage. So overall, Islam as a social system, has been developed during the Umayyad Caliphate. And then next development stage, we call it flowering stage. This flowering stage is from 130 Hijri to 1258 Hijri. 1258 Hijri. That is actually is Abbasid Caliphate stage. So during the time of Abbasid Caliphate, Islam, it is called flowering stage. So flowering stage, you can understand that it become beautiful. It become beautiful, and a lot of things has been it become more complete and more comprehended. It has a philosophy. It can answer many things during this time. So this is the time that when like Sharia law, istihad, madhab, and many other things has been developed, like collection of hadith, and all these things has been developed during this time. So this is called the flowering stage. So Islam has matured through different stage. Islam has matured through different stage. So during this maturity, the Aqidah word is introduced. Why it is necessary? Because the faith of Islam, which was very simple at the beginning, dealing with the daily life, daily problem, and a simple belief of God, now become complicated and come across different philosophy in the world, come across Persian philosophy, come across Greek philosophy, and many Greek people and many Persian people entered Islam. So when they entered Islam, they want to introduce their philosophical theory in Islam also. You have to understand that since they entered the Islam, so they come with their own philosophical theory, and they want to view Islam through their individual intellect, which is their own philosophy. So that is how the Greek philosophy is introduced inside in Islam. Greek philosophy, not only Greek philosophy, all the different ideas and philosophy, Indian philosophy, Greek philosophy, Persian philosophy, all has been introduced in Islam. So some people say that these are foreign or alien philosophy, and Muslims shouldn't accept this. But this is, in a sense, you can judge that whether it is unacceptable or acceptable because of the maturity of the intellectual development. So all these things are introduced. So during this time, this we say that Akida concept has been introduced, right? So in Islam, there's a many beliefs started to evolve, even from the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, from the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was alive, present, everybody go and approach him and ask him the solution. So it was easy for him, easy for the society to reach a decision. But once Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away, and this deviant akida, a deviant belief has been developed, then it become more complicated. So first deviation or first difference in belief is developed in Islam on 30th Hijri. 30th Hijri, the concept of Khawarij came inside Islam, right? Concept of Khawarij came inside Islam. So actually, we will see from 30 Hijri, 100 Hijri, 200 Hijri, and then 300 Hijri. What are the different beliefs came inside Islam? So I think today we'll talk part of it, and then next week we discuss more about detail of belief. So how the Khawarij belief came in? So I say just now, I say that during the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this different belief has been introduced. There's a narration, traditional evidence. So a man named Zul Kawaisara, a man named Zul Kawaisara, he is from Tamimi sect. Tamimi sect. So he is a Bedouin, and he become Muslim, and he asked the integrity of the Prophet. He asked question about the integrity of the Prophet during his lifetime. So while Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was distributing booty, he came and asked him, "O Muhammad, be just." So this Zul Khwaisara, he raised a question of the integrity of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And of course, once somebody say like that, there's a lot of repercussions. Somebody want to oppose, somebody want to do this thing, that thing. But Prophet didn't allow all this, but he mentioned that from the offspring of Zul Kawaisara, the Khawarij will arise. So he prophesied during that time that from the offspring of this man, Khawarij will arise. So what happened later on? Khawarij has arise from this gentleman, and also got another gentleman. Another gentleman, he's a Yemeni Jewish. He become Muslim, and mm, his name is Abdullah bin Sabah. Abdullah bin Sabah. So these people, especially Abdullah bin Sabah, he provoked Egyptian. He provoked Egyptian people to go against Usman radiallahu anhu. And we know the story, how the thing happened, how people revolt against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But what important thing is to know that they revolt because they say that uh, Usman radiallahu anhu, Usman radiallahu anhu, he broke social justice, because there's a situation that during his time, many of the family member of Usman radiallahu anhu was holding the government position, So they make this an issue that say that we want to re-establish social justice. We want equal right for everybody. So they use very nice words to create a revolution or to create a revolt against Usman radiallahu anhu. So that is the first Khawarij was created, and this is at the 30th Hijri. So the different aqidah start coming out from very early stage of Islam, and during the war of Camel, the war of Camel is between Aisha radiallahu anhu and Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. Yeah? So this Abdullah bin Sabah, they create many issues so that the war doesn't stop. And many Sahabas were killed, many companions were killed, and a lot of story. And then next, this revolution of or revolt or rebellion of Khawarij happened during the time of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. So I think our Abdul Hamid bhai already discussed for quite long time. He discussed about this issue and how this happened, how this is a war of Siffin was conducted, and important Sahaba were involved. Once the war has been stopped and arbitration has been, they have decided to do some arbitration. So they choose two Sahaba, Abu Musa al-Ashari representing Hazrat Ali, and Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu, both of them radiallahu anhu, and they represent Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And there was a very bad trick played by Amr ibn As, and from there the next Khaliji movement started. So one group of the army of Ali radiallahu anhu, they revolt against Ali, and they again say that they recite the words of Quran, they recite the words of Quran, that the judgment should be done none other than Allah. None other than Allah. They recite the words of Quran, and they go against Hazrat Ali, thousands of them. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was a very learned and very wise man. So he didn't go against them directly. They say no. The what they say? They say the the disobedience is verbal. So we also face it verbally, not by war. We face it verbally. So it's a matter of akida. We deal with akida. So he sent Abdullah ibn Abbas to argue with them. So there's a lot of story. So this is the next Khawarij movement. That is what I want to mention here. So what is this Khawarij movement? What is this Khawarij movement? Khawarij movement got two things. Outcome is two. One is they say that it's permissible to revolt against the leader with revolution and rebellion. So before it was not a good usual practice, but the Khawarij people, they say that you can, if you see that your leader is not just, so you can revolt against him. This is number one. And number two is declaring somebody disbeliever. That anybody who do a major sin, they call him disbeliever. So this is the two characteristics of Khawarij movement. First thing is revolt against leader, and then second thing is declaring somebody as disbeliever for doing major sin. All right, so this is one of the basic deviation that is introduced in Islam. Before we do not have this, and there is a the what the scholars say that these two deviation still continue in the present days. So this is one of the basic. Actually, they say that there is only four type of deviation in Islam. There is only four type of deviation in Islam, and all the thing we see, like when they call about tabligh, when they call it Jamaat Islam, when they call it Ikhwanul Muslimin, these are the present day, when they call it Wahhabism, all these are different variation of these four basic deviation. So one of the deviation is Khawarij deviation, and there's two things is hidden in it. One is the permissibility to revolt against leader. One is declaring someone as disbeliever. So this is the first deviation, and the word is used takfir. Takfir is a word that declares fellow Muslim of guilty of apostasy. And this is in term of Islamic term, it's called takfir. Okay, anyway, I want to say thanks to everybody, those who asked me to give a talk on this, because I'm also learning. I'm also learning from it. Okay, so next deviation I talk about is so the first division come at the 38th Hijri. Yeah? Next division come a few very soon after this, very soon. This is called Qadiriya. Qadiriya belief. So what is the basic thing of Qadiriya belief? Is Qadiriya belief that human being has power, complete power over his action. Means we do all our action, we are in control of our action. That is what this Qadariya say. Qadar means power. Qadar means power. So human beings are in control of their action. So what is the implication of this? The implication of this that there is a belief that actually there's a it came from other religion that and also it came from Mutazila. Afterwards, when you study Mutazila, we'll discuss this thing more detail. In Mutazila, that Allah is responsible only for goodness. Allah don't do any evil thing. There's no action, no evil action from Allah. So there's a problem. How this evil action come from? So the question is, the answer is, they say that human beings are in control of their action. So all the evil is created by human being. Allah only create goodness. So this is the basic principle behind Qadiriya, and this is introduced by Al-Mabad Al-Jahani. Al-Mabad in Jahani, he came to Islam from, originally he was a Christian, he came to Islam he is from Iraq, and then he introduced this concept in Islam, that Allah, all the action of Allah is all goodness, and all the evil came out from the human action. And there is a man, Gilan al-Damishki, he took this concept from Mabad and introduced in the Mutazila belief. So there's a two innovation, or two idea is hidden under Qadiriya. The one is rejection of Allah's prior knowledge. They reject that Allah knows everything. No, they say that Allah doesn't know what human being is going to do, because Allah doesn't know how the evil will come out. Allah is not responsible for that. So they limit the omnipotence of Allah because of this Qadariya belief, and also that the servant is the one who bring about his own action independently outside the scope of Allah's will. That means Allah's will, Allah's power, Allah's ability to create, and is all uh, become invalid, because human being is Allah. When I say Allah create, means Allah not only create material, Allah also create action, Allah also create everything. But here we say that no, human being has power, human being is creating. Also human being has power. Then we are actually uh, saying that Allah is not all powerful. So that is the basic idea, innovation inside the Qadiriya theory. Okay. So then the third one, okay, there is two extreme Qadiriya group. One is okay. Two group of Qadiriya is very common. One is extreme Qadiriya, and they are considered as disbeliever. The extreme Qadiriya is considered as disbeliever, and there is other than the other Qadiriya group who are not other than extreme. They are still present today. And one of the examples, they say that Taquddin Nabahani, he introduced some concept of Hizbut Tahiri, where okay, so we'll discuss this one later on. So there's an example of this, and when time comes, we'll discuss about Hizbut Tahiri later on. Then the third deviation comes from Rafida. Rafida is a Shiite belief. So this Rafida is introduced by the Jews, Abdullah ibn Saba, who become Muslim. He is from Yemen, and this is the guy who initiate rebellion against Usman radiallahu anhu. He also play major role in all these issues between Muawiyah and Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. Okay, so what is the belief? This Rafida is an extreme Shia. Shia got many sects also, like Zaidi Shia. Zaidi Shia is very, very close to the Muslim, Sunni Muslim. But Rafida is an extreme Shia. They believe that Rasulullah, of course, Rasulullah is everybody believe in him, but they said that the next successor should be Hazrat Ali, but who deprive Hazrat Ali, like Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, they abuse all these Sahabi. They believe that most of the Sahabi are not really good, They only accept few Sahabi, 4 or 5 Sahabi. Other than that, all of the Sahabi. They also don't accept Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, and they believe the what the successor of Hazrat Ali are infallible. So they should be the Imam, leader of Muslim. They believe. So this is one of the things that still continue. Although the Rafida has been introduced during the time of 30th Hijri, during the time of 30th Hijri, but this still continues. Like when you talk about Qadiani, they also talk about Imamet. One of the most important things in Rafida is Imamet. So they are the variation of this Rafida belief. When you talk about this type of thing, this type of other, those who think that they have an Imam, these are all fall under this group. So we talk about Khawarij, we talk about Qadiriya, we talk about Rafida, and then we talk about last one for today's talk is Murjia. Okay, Murjia, this principle appeared before the end of first century after Hijri. First century of the Hijri, and before the end of first century, that means about 100 Hijri, this principle appeared in Islam, and and there is some difference about who started this, who is the originator. There's 3, 4 guys are name are identified, and they say that these are the people who initiated this. Okay, and they all live in the same era and same place, same locality. They all came out from Kufa. They all came out from Kufa. And Abu Hanifa also came out from Kufa. Abu Hanifa was born 80 Hijri until died at 150 Hijri. So this Murjia and Abu Hanifa is almost same. Abu Hanifa almost same time. Abu Hanifa was a tabi'in. Tabi'in. He met Sahabi Anas ibn Malik. All right. So so what is the concept? What is the basic concept of Murjia? Murjia, the main concept is called Irja. Irja. Irja is a concept that Iman and Amal are independent. So meaning that when we declare Shahada, when we believe that Allah, Tawheed is of Allah, and the duty of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we declare it by our tongue, so we have Iman. When we do any grave sin, our Iman is not affected, but our Amal is affected. So this is the concept of Murjia. This is the concept of Murjia. So if you make mistake on Sharia Amal, our Iman is not affected. So this concept give rise to different evil consequences, such as Iman is therefore uh, Iman in reality becomes single and indivisible. Iman is therefore in reality a single thing, indivisible, and and then another consequence that all believers are equal in respect to Iman, because they declare Iman by their heart, but what is in their heart, only Allah knows. Only because of the intention of Allah knows. So externally, the Iman becomes same for every Muslim who declare faith, and there is no variation of faith among the believer and righteous believer and wicked person. There is no variation of faith among the righteous believer and wicked person or sinner. Okay, and also no sin. No, if you commit sin, no sin can damage your iman. So these are the consequences of murjia belief, murjia principle. Okay, so this doctrine is just opposite to Khawarij. Khawarij say if we do a major sin, we become disbeliever. And Murjia say if we do major sin, our faith is not affected. So these two are just opposite. All right. So there's many sect under many division under Murjia, many division under Murjia. Yeah. So we'll discuss this uh, subsequently. Subsequently, I think for today I end here, and from this short discussion, if you have any question, I'll try to answer. But yeah, and many answer will come out in the subsequent lecture. You will find many answer in the subsequent lecture. So this is a very new subject, I think, for everybody. So if you are benefited from this subject, that will be very good. But I also expect some review. How can I improve my discussion on this subject at the end of the discussion, inshallah. So let me end here. Subhanallah wa bihamd.
There are two messages. Let me see if they are messages, inshallah. So Nur Alam had to leave. He'll join next Sunday, and there's supposed to be another message. I don't see the other message. New messages. There's only one message. We pray for all those who are suffering in some way because of illness, because of other reasons, and from among our fraternity, from among our relatives, especially those who have passed away. Today, I will mention few names of people from our fraternity who have passed away, and seek dua from you for them. But let me mention some names that I normally mention, those who are in dire need of duas. Firstly, I want to mention Tanim Hassan. He sent a message that he is in extreme tension for some reason, and he has sought for dua from us. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy for him, remove all his difficulties. And those who are in illnesses, and may Allah Ta'ala grant them deliverance from their illnesses. Amir Hussein and Farooq Amin, who was hospitalized. We didn't know for 2 weeks, and is as per Amir Hussein, who went to meet him. Farooq Amin is in how should I explain it? Is in grave condition. Mrs. Lutfi Ayub from 2nd batch, SM Ilyas from 4th batch, Abul Barkat from 6th batch, Panna from 6th batch, Mrs. Mahfuz Reza from 6th batch. Some of these are underwent cancer treatment. Muhammad Habibur Rahman from 9th batch, Maruf from 11th batch, Colonel Abdul Rauf from 13th batch, Mrs. Aftab from 14th batch, Farooq from 15th batch, and Major Salim Ershad Shena from 19th batch, Amirul Faisal from 19th batch, Naimur Rahman from 46th batch, Mr. Muhammad Khairuzaman, Saif's father-in-law from 19th batch, Mr. Muhammad Ali Reza, Abir's father from 28th batch, and Shuja's son Fauzan Fauzan Shuja's son, 12th batch, Saleh Raju's son, 11th batch, Salsabil Muqim's son, 13th batch, Hanif Sarwardi's son, Hanif is from 27th batch, and Bachu from 5th batch. And I want to mention, if you remember, I used to invoke the name of A.J. Muhammad Ali, who was Attorney General of Bangladesh in a previous government. He's from the first, from my batch, but from Fauzdar Cadet College. He died actually. I didn't know because I'm not in touch with him. He asked for dua through a relative and through my relative, not directly to me. So he was in Singapore. And after the first chemo, he didn't come back to his senses and he died on 21st or 22nd of May. I heard it from a friend from Fauzdar Cadet College the other day. And may Allah Ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus. This A.J. Muhammad Ali, he was my class friend in class 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, in Will's Little Flower School. So I have that soft corner, and that's why he tried to reach out to me for prayers. So A.J. Muhammad Ali passed away, and I gathered from a post that Monirul Karim, doctor, he was a doctor from Sylhet Cadet College, 17th batch, he passed away. May Allah Ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus. And Janab Abdus Sattar, father of Mamoon Ahmed from Mirzapur Cadet College, passed away. And a friend of mine from Fauzdar Cadet College, my batch, Samiruz Zaman, his wife passed away, but few years ago. And today is a day of dua, and he wanted me to lead the dua. But because of this Talim Halka, I could not do that. I said we will pray collectively for Bhabi. Najma Bhabi, she was a professor in a college near Boston, a wonderful lady in one word. So may Allah Ta'ala grant her Jannatul Firdaus. So 4 people I mentioned, Munirul Karim, Dr. Sylhet Cadet College, Muhammad Ali, Fauzdar Cadet College, our batch, my batch, Janab Abdul Sattar, father of Mamoon Ahmed from Mirzapur Cadet College, and Najma Bhabi. Let us please recite Surah Fatiha once and Surah Ikhlas 3 times and pray not only for these 4 persons, but for all our near and dear ones and our friends and our teachers and our administrators who have passed away. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد Allahumma ameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. May Allah Ta'ala accept our whatever deeds we have done. He accept these and whatever we have recited and whatever amal of seeking ilm that we have been able to do and accept in spite of the shortcomings and convey the blessings to A.J. Muhammad Ali's soul, Munirul Karim's soul, Janab Abdul Sattar's soul, Najma Bhabi's soul, and the soul of all our near and dear ones who are in the grave. And Allah, you are most kind, you are most gracious, you are most merciful, you are most forgiving. You are Al-Halim, you are Al-Kareem, you are Al-Jabbar, you are Al-Ghaffar, you are Al-Ghafoor, you are Zul Jalali wal Ikram, you are Malik al-Mulk, You are Hayyu, you are Qayyum. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك وغنيمة من كل بر وسلامة من كل إثم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا مسلما إلا رحمته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم يا হে পাক পরওয়ারদিগার, ইয়া মালিকাল মুলক, ইয়া যুল জালালি ওয়াল ইকরাম, ইয়া হাইয়্যু ইয়া কাইয়্যুম, তুমি আমাদেরকে যা কিছু আমল করার তৌফিক দিয়েছো ব্যক্তিগতভাবে আল্লাহ, যা কিছু পাঠ করার তৌফিক দিয়েছো আল্লাহ, যা কিছু বলার ও শোনার তৌফিক দিয়েছো আল্লাহ, সমস্ত কিছুর ভুল ভ্রান্তি সংশোধন করে তোমার শাহী দরবারে কবুল করে নিও আল্লাহ এবং তার সওয়াব রাসূল করিম সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি সাল্লামের রূহ মুবারকের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও আল্লাহ এবং তার সওয়াব পৌঁছে দিও যাদের জন্য আমরা পাঠ করেছি এবং আমাদের আপনজন, প্রিয়জন, নিকটজন সবার রুহের কাছে আল্লাহ। তাদের কবরের আযাব মাফ করে দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের কবরকে প্রশস্ত করে দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের কবরকে নূর দিয়ে পরিপূর্ণ করে দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের কবরকে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসের বাগান বানিয়ে দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের দরজা প্রতিটা দিন উঁচু করে দিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের প্রতিও তোমার সর্বোত্তম ব্যবহার দেখিও। আমরাও যখন কবরে যাব আল্লাহ, একদিন না একদিন যেতেই হবে। সেই গর্তের মধ্যে মাটি চাপা দেয়া হবে আল্লাহ। তোমার মেহেরবানি ছাড়া আর কোনো কিছু কাজে আসবে না আল্লাহ। তাই তোমার সাথে আমাদের যেরকম সম্পর্ক গড়া উচিত সেরকম সম্পর্ক যেন গড়তে পারি, তোমাকে যেরকম জানা উচিত সেরকম যেন তোমাকে চিনতে পারি, জানতে পারি এবং তোমার হুকুম জানতে পারি এবং মানতে পারি, যাতে তোমার হাবিবের সুন্নত মতো যাতে করে তোমার সাথে সেরকম সম্পর্ক আমরা গড়তে পারি, যেই সম্পর্ক দুনিয়াতেও কাজে লাগবে, মৃত্যুর সময় কাজে লাগবে, কবরের কাজে লাগবে, আখিরাতের প্রত্যেকটা ঘাঁটিতে কাজে লাগবে। আমাদের প্রতি তোমার সর্বোত্তম ব্যবহার দেখিও আল্লাহ, আখিরাতের প্রত্যেকটা ঘাঁটিতে আল্লাহ, এবং আমাদেরকে বিনা হিসাবে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসে দাখিল হওয়ার তৌফিক দান করো। এই দুনিয়ার জীবনে তৌফিক দান করো আল্লাহ। যেই পথ জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসের দিকে গিয়েছে আল্লাহ, সেই পথে আমাদেরকে প্রতিষ্ঠিত, অধিষ্ঠিত রেখো আল্লাহ, মজবুত রেখো আল্লাহ। তোমার রহমত, মাগফিরাত, হেফাজত, হেদায়েতের চাদরে আমাদের আবৃত রেখো। আমাদের সন্তান সন্ততি কিয়ামত পর্যন্ত যারা আসবে তাদেরকে আবৃত রেখো আল্লাহ এবং সমস্ত মুসলমানকে আবৃত রেখো। সমস্ত মানুষকে হেদায়েত দিও আল্লাহ এবং যারা আমাদেরকে ধ্বংস করছে তাদের কপালে যদি হেদায়েত না থাকে তাদের ধ্বংস করে দিও আমাদের ধ্বংস করার আগে আল্লাহ। তুমি আমাদের শয়তানের ধোঁকা থেকে, নফসের তাড়না থেকে, মানুষের কুমন্ত্রণা থেকে, দুনিয়ার মারাত্মক আকর্ষণ থেকে প্রতিটা মুহূর্তে রক্ষা করো আল্লাহ, যাতে করে এবং এমন জীবন দান করো যাতে করে আমরা তোমার সন্তুষ্টি মৃত্যুর আগে অর্জন করতে পারি আল্লাহ। উত্তম দিনে, উত্তম ক্ষণে, উত্তম স্থানে যেন আমাদের মৃত্যু হয় আল্লাহ। তোমার তোমার কলেমা পড়ে যেন আমরা দুনিয়া থেকে যাই, শয়তানের ধোঁকা ব্যর্থ করে দিয়ে যেন আমরা দুনিয়া থেকে যাই এমন অবস্থায় যখন তুমি আমাদের উপর সন্তুষ্ট এবং গর্বিত ফেরেশতাদের কাছে আল্লাহ। হে পাক পরওয়ারদিগার, আমাদের এই জীবন যেন ব্যর্থ হয়ে না যায়। একটাই জীবন, তুমি আমাদেরকে কবুল করে নাও আল্লাহ এবং আমাদের সমস্ত বিপদ আপদ দূর করে দিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের আমাদের মনের হাজত, নেক হাজত পুরা করে দিও, যা দুনিয়ার জন্য মঙ্গলজনক হবে, যা দুনিয়ার জন্য ক্ষতিকর তার বদলা আখিরাতে দিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের অসুখ বিসুখ সুস্থ করে দিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের আমাদের পরিচিত দের অসুখ বিসুখ, আমাদের আপনজনের বিপদ আপদ, অসুখ বিসুখ দূর করে দিও। একমাত্র তুমি সাহায্যকারী আল্লাহ। তোমার হাতের, তোমার নিয়ন্ত্রণে সমস্ত কিছু আল্লাহ। যা কিছু আমরা পাঠ করার তৌফিক পেয়েছি, শোনার বলার তৌফিক পেয়েছি, আল্লাহ তোমার বড়ই মেহেরবানি। আমাদের গুনাহ খাতা সমস্ত মাফ করে দিয়ে তার বদলে নেকি লিখে দিয়ে আল্লাহ তুমি আমাদের এই সওয়াব রাসূল করিম সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও, আমাদের সমস্ত আপনজনের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের সমস্ত শিক্ষক শিক্ষয়িত্রী, আমাদের স্টাফ, আমাদের কর্মকর্তা, আমাদের পাড়া প্রতিবেশী তথা সমস্ত আমাদের আত্মীয় স্বজন সমস্ত মুসলমানের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও তার সওয়াব আল্লাহ। এবং আমাদেরকে কবুল করে নিও আল্লাহ। আমাদের যত তোমার দিনের দিন প্রতিষ্ঠার জন্য যত জায়গায় মেহনত হচ্ছে আল্লাহ, সব মেহনত তুমি কবুল করো এবং তৌফিক বাড়িয়ে দিও। আমাদের এই ছোট্ট প্রয়াস তুমি কবুল করো, আমাদের তৌফিক বাড়িয়ে দিও এবং আমাদের এই মেহনত কিয়ামত পর্যন্ত জারি রেখো আল্লাহ। হে আল্লাহ, তুমি আমাদেরকে গুনাহ থেকে দূরে রাখো, যেমন পূর্ব থেকে পশ্চিম তুমি দূরে রাখো। তুমি আমাদেরকে তোমার হুকুমের প্রতি আকৃষ্ট করো দিনে দিনে, পুরা দিনের মধ্যে যেন আমরা প্রবেশ করতে পারি এবং প্রতিটা দিন যেন আমরা এলেম শিখতে পারি এবং মানুষকে তোমার দ্বীনের দাওয়াত আমরা পৌঁছে দিতে পারি, যার কারণে তুমি আমাদেরকে শ্রেষ্ঠ উম্মত হিসাবে আখ্যায়িত করেছো আল্লাহ। সেই শ্রেষ্ঠ উম্মতের শ্রেষ্ঠ কাজটা নবীওয়ালা মেহনত এর কাজ, নবীওয়ালা গুণাবলীর দ্বারা যেন আমরা করতে পারি, সেই তৌফিক তুমি আমাদের দান করো আল্লাহ। তুমি আমাদের কবুল করে নিও আল্লাহ। তোমার শান মতো চাইতে পারি নাই, তোমার শান মতো দান করো আল্লাহ। তোমার শান মতো হেফাজত চাইতে পারি নাই, তোমার শান মতো হেফাজত করো আল্লাহ। ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر لي ولوالدنا وجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك موجب الدعوات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين يا كاظم الحاجات يا رافع الدرجات يا حلال المشكلات يا موجب الدعوات برحمتك نستغيث يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا أكرم الأكرمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا راحم المساكين يا ذي القوة المتين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وحد لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. আমিন ইয়া রাব্বিল আলামিন। ইনশাআল্লাহ we will meet আমরা মিলিত হব সামনের শনিবারে।